Fans of the Horus Heresy, the War Master's Equerry, and the dawning of a new age of darkness. Thank you very much for joining me for a video which is the news about the news. We could call it the meta news. But what I'm talking to you today is what you can see on screen at the moment. And this is an article that popped up on the Warhammer Community website today, and this is the 15th of April 2021, and it is titled The Horus Heresy Legion Dispatch. I think this is very interesting, and particularly following on from my video from a few weeks ago about Code 30, I thought this was very topical to talk about, both in terms of what I see this article meaning, also joining some dots up with some of the other things that we know have happened. Well, we can also take a look at a new model that's coming out as well, of Malgus the Twisted, so what's not to like? Okay, so let's jump in with what this article is about. I'm not going to read this word for word, but I'm going to pick out certain sections that I think are relevant in terms of why I think this article might be an indication of something new to come and something significant to come in the Horus Heresy range, linking into what we heard from the Rumours from a month ago or so now on Bolter and Chainsword and the Code 30 video that I made. So that's the plan. It's not to read the whole article, but to pick out selected elements. So first up, I quote, "Welcome to Legion Dispatch, the first in a regular series of articles where we'll show off new models for the Horus Heresy." A couple of things there. Firstly, this is a regular series, and secondly, it's going to be linked to models. The immediate thing that jumps out to me is there's new models coming, which we're seeing the first of here in this article, and it's going to be a regular feature. So good stuff. Those of us who like the Heresy game, the range, collecting the miniatures, the story, I think this can only be a good thing. I also think the word regular is very significant here because this is an article on the Warhammer Community website, and the Warhammer Community are Games Workshop's Warhammer marketing team. We must always remember that Warhammer Community are Games Workshop's marketing team, and if they're running a series of articles about a particular system or anything to do with what Games Workshop's about, it means they're doing it to promote and ultimately to sell it. So I think, as I talked about, or as I speculated in my Code 30 video, I think there's something coming for the Horus Heresy. I really think there's something big coming now, and the appearance of this article so soon after the Code 30 video and the rumours on Bolter and Chainsword, I mean, how much more smoke do you need to see? I'd say, well, we're seeing the first flames here. Very encouraging. After a long wilderness, for more reasons than you can shake a stick at, the heresy really is starting to move forward, I feel. So the next thing I would just like to mention with regards to this article, I mean, it's not a particularly big thing, but towards the end of the article, shortly before the asterisks of humour and observations, the article reads thus: "Malgus Twisted will be available to pre-order soon." And that's all I want to say. So this model, this new model of Malgus, is going to be available to order soon. Whatever it is this series that this article is about, it's a clear indication of things are starting to happen with the heresy as we move forward in time. That's great news. I mean, obviously we don't know what the word soon means. I would probably suggest that means sometime in the next week or two. And regular, what does regular mean? Well, I don't know. It might be anything between every 2 to 4 weeks. But I'd certainly be expecting to see articles to that sort of schedule. And are we, I don't know, just joining some dots together here? Let me think. If those rumours on Bolter and Chainsword were true about new range of plastics, are we going to see like a drip feed through of new plastic kits? I don't know. Another join the dots exercise we can think of here is what preceded Malgus. The last heresy model we had was a character miniature of Captain Saul Tarvitz of the Emperor's Children. And, you know, if you've read the Horus Rising trilogy, you will know that both Malgus and Saul Tarvitz are important characters in the Horus Rising trilogy. So to see two miniatures of two characters so linked to the Horus Rising trilogy, and the Horus Rising trilogy is about the events that lead up to the Battle of Istvan III, it makes me wonder. Bolter and Chainsword rumour about a new plastic range. Are we leading into some sort of, new product for the heresy that's going to be focused around the early heresy and the Battle of Istvan III? And a great way to do that would be to support it with a series of character miniatures. So previously we've had Saul Tarvitz, we're getting Malgus Twisted. If we imagine one from each legion, well, from the Death Guard, Well, Nathaniel Garrow, there's a thought. And from the Emperor's Children, but how about Lucius? And then from the World Eaters is probably a bit harder one to pick there if you're going to have an Isstvan 3 orientated character. Because, of course, we already have a model of Khan, don't we? I'm just wondering who they could do. Maybe that's one for you down in the comments section. Do you have any suggestions for a World Eaters character focused around the early heresy and the Battle of Isstvan 3? And those ideas I've just set out there are just a couple of speculations on my part, drawing dots together between different bits of information that are both official, deduced, and rumour in the public domain. So yeah, very interesting stuff indeed. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for future articles on the Legion Dispatch, and I'll be sure to make a video on each one when they appear, because it's interesting stuff now that we see something like a plan coming out of the Warhammer Community team in terms of marketing around the Horus Heresy. I think that's everything I had to say on this particular article. I thought we could just finish with a little bit of a think about the actual model itself. And yeah, I mean, I really like the look of this miniature. Some people have been speculating as to whether or not it is resin or plastic. I'll come back to that. But in terms of the look of it, well, there's lots of Chthonian keys in terms of the spikiness and the K, and even like the bolter, which has got a certain stripped down feel to it. I do like his power pack, which has got this sort of double bulb effect. Is that suggesting it's his special power pack? Because of course Malagust was badly injured, and he was somewhat crippled in body and twisted in mind. And the sculptor has actually nicely captured that here, because you can see that the icon banner he's holding, he's not actually holding it, he's actually using it as a crutch, like a support. Because if you look at his right arm, he's grabbing onto the spiked ring and holding himself up, it appears, by the banner pole. So that is a nice touch, that, to capture the feel of Malagust's character throughout most of the stories. And of course, the miniature itself has been closely keyed into the original art sketch from Horus Heresy Book 1 Betrayal. So yeah, I do like the look of this model. Really interesting styling. Now, back to that bit around plastic or resin. The observations on Twitter were, someone with sharp observational skills pointed out that the spiked halo, or the spiked ring, that Malagust is grasping with his hand is very thin to support the icon. Now, obviously this is a two-dimensional photo of a three-dimensional figure, so we can't see the side of it, so we don't know how deep or thick that ring is. But if that were to be in resin, that would be awfully fragile, I think. Whereas if it was in plastic, it would be somewhat stronger. So there's an interesting thought. Could this be the first plastic Horus Heresy character miniature? I don't know. Just a little speculation there on my part. Yes, I think overall a really good looking miniature, and I like how the sculptor has captured both the character of Malagust in the stance and also paid homage to the original artwork from Betrayal. Yes, I do really like that. So that is everything I have to say about the first Legion Dispatch. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can go check it out if you haven't already seen it. As always, I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts and observations in the comment section. What do you think? Is this just a one-off article, or do you think this, like me, do you see the beginning of something bigger here? As always, I'll be very interested to hear those. I'd also like to thank all my Patreons for their support. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. If you would like to support my channel, the links are in the description. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.